Fishers of people. The story of a failed man called again. The boats were still heavy with fish. Only a short time earlier, Simon had spent the night working and caught nothing. Then, at the word of Jesus, he had lowered the nets again. The catch was so great that the nets began to break and both boats filled until they were in danger of sinking. But Simon was no longer thinking mainly about the fish. He fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." The great catch had not made him proud. It had made him aware of the authority of Jesus and of his own unworthiness. Luke tells us that Simon and those with him were astonished. James and John, the sons of Zebedee and Simon's partners, were there as well. The scene was full of abundance, yet Simon's heart was filled with fear. Then Jesus spoke directly to him. "Do not be afraid." Those words came before the calling. Jesus did not ignore Simon's confession. He did not pretend sin was unimportant. But he also did not push Simon away because Simon had become painfully aware of his own condition. Simon had said, "Leave me." Jesus answered with reassurance, "Do not be afraid." Simon believed his unworthiness should create distance between himself and Jesus. Jesus responded by drawing him into a new future. Then he said, "From now on you will fish for people." Luke records the calling in those words. Matthew and Mark describe the same calling with the familiar expression, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Jesus took the work Simon already knew and used it to describe the new direction of his life. Until now, Simon had spent his days working with boats, nets, water, and fish. Now Jesus told him that his life would be turned toward people. This did not mean that Peter would control people or treat them as objects. His future mission would be to proclaim the good news, bear witness to Jesus, and help others hear the message of God's kingdom. The center of the calling was not Peter. The center was the one calling him. Peter's calling began on his knees. It began with the confession, "I am a sinful man." The man who would later speak to others was first the man who knew he needed grace. Jesus did not call Peter because Peter had proven himself spiritually superior. He did not wait until Peter became fearless. Peter had just come through a night of failure. He had just admitted his sinfulness. He was afraid, and that was the moment Jesus gave him a new purpose. We often imagine calling in the opposite order. First become strong. First become worthy. First remove every weakness. Then perhaps God can use you. Peter's story does not begin that way. Jesus met him before he was finished. This does not mean Peter's weaknesses no longer mattered. The Gospels later show that he still had much to learn. He would misunderstand Jesus, speak too quickly, become afraid, and make serious mistakes. The Bible does not hide those failures. Grace did not mean Peter could remain unchanged. It meant his weakness did not have greater authority than the call of Jesus. The words "from now on" also matter. Jesus pointed to a change in direction. Peter's past was real. His failed night was real. His confession of sin was real. But none of those things would have the final word over his future. From now on, a new direction was beginning. Jesus did not erase Peter's history. He redirected his life. Luke then describes the response of Simon and the others in one short sentence. They pulled their boats up on shore, left everything and followed him. The sentence is brief, but the decision is enormous. The same boats that had just been filled with an extraordinary catch were now left behind. They did not walk away because fishing had failed. The boats were full, and that was when they followed Jesus. If they had followed when the nets were empty, someone might say they were simply looking for a better opportunity. But they left when the nets were full. They followed because the call of Jesus had become greater than what they could hold. Peter's failure did not define him, but neither did Peter's success. The empty nets were not his final identity. The full nets were not his final identity either. His life was now being reshaped by the one who said, "Follow me." Failure can become an identity. A person may say, "I failed, therefore I am a failure." But success can also become an identity. A person may say, "My value is in what I achieve. My security is in what I own." Peter's story challenges both. He could not build his identity on the empty night, and he could not build his identity on the overflowing morning. Jesus called him beyond both. Peter and the others received a particular calling in the ministry of Jesus. This does not mean every believer must leave a profession. A person may follow Jesus faithfully in ordinary work, family life, and daily responsibility. But the principle remains. To follow Jesus means allowing His Word to reorder our priorities. For Peter, that change became visible immediately. The boats came to shore. He followed Jesus. There is also something important in the fact that Jesus did not merely say, "Go and do something for me." He said, "Follow me." The first call was relational. Peter was not sent away with a task and left alone to figure everything out. He was called to be with Jesus. He would learn by walking behind Him. He would listen. He would watch. He would misunderstand and be corrected. He would grow while following the one who called him. Calling is not merely receiving an assignment. It begins with following. Peter was not first called to build something in his own name. He was called to come after Jesus. Only then would he learn what it meant to serve people. Peter's story also shows that fear does not have to be the end of obedience. He was afraid, and Jesus knew it. The answer was not, "Come back when you are confident." It was, "Do not be afraid." Courage is not always the absence of fear. Sometimes it is moving forward because the word of Jesus is greater than the fear we feel. Peter was not called because he was enough by himself. He was called by one who would teach, correct, strengthen, and shape him. The phrase "fishers of people" also points beyond Peter's private spiritual life. Following Jesus would turn him outward. Grace received would become good news shared. Peter had been met personally, but that grace would not remain only about him. He would be sent toward others. Those who receive mercy are called to show mercy. Those who receive truth are called to speak truth with love. Those who are brought near are invited to help others hear the same good news. Yet Peter could never become the savior of other people. The power was not his. The great catch had already taught him that lesson. In the future, he would speak, serve, and obey. God would be the one at work. That truth protects service from both pride and despair. If we believe everything depends on us, success can make us arrogant and failure can destroy us. But if we understand that we are servants, we can work faithfully without pretending to be the source of life. Peter was also not the only one who followed. James and John were there. Matthew and Mark also name Andrew in the calling of the fishermen. Jesus was forming a community of followers, not one isolated hero. Peter would become important in the story, but he was never the center. Jesus was. The scene at the lake holds several truths together. Peter is a sinner, yet he is called. He is afraid, yet he is told not to fear. He has failed, yet failure does not end his story. He has succeeded, yet success does not become his master. This is more than a motivational story about starting over. It is a story about grace creating a new direction through the word of Jesus. Peter's life would still include hardship. Following Jesus would not protect him from every mistake, loss, or fear. The call did not promise an easy road, but it gave his life a new center. Before, the success of the day could be measured by what was in the nets. Now the deeper question would be whether he was following Jesus faithfully. We often measure ourselves by results. Did the plan work? Did I succeed? Did I fail? Results matter, but they cannot carry the full weight of our identity. Peter experienced both extremes within a short time. Empty nets, overflowing nets. Neither one told the whole truth about him. The voice of Jesus spoke something deeper. Do not be afraid. From now on, follow me. Some people look at their past and believe they have already disqualified themselves from anything meaningful. Peter's story gives no permission to ignore sin or avoid responsibility. His confession mattered. Repentance matters. Truth matters. But grace means failure does not automatically receive the authority to write the final chapter. Jesus can call a person who has become deeply aware of weakness. Others may be living in a season of success. The nets are full. The future feels secure. Peter's story asks a question there too. If the gifts become greater than the giver, will we still follow? If success begins to define us, will we still be free to obey? The fishermen did not leave because fish were worthless. They left because something greater had taken priority. That is the heart of surrender. Surrender does not mean everything in ordinary life is worthless. It means nothing good is allowed to take the place that belongs to Jesus. The lake had been Peter's familiar world. The boat had been part of his livelihood. The nets were tools he knew how to use. Now he stood at the edge of a future he could not fully understand. Jesus did not give him a detailed map of everything ahead. He gave him a call. Follow me. Faith often begins that way. Not with complete knowledge of every future step, but with enough light to take the next one. Peter could not yet see all the ways he would fail, learn, and be restored. He could not see the full cost, but he could see Jesus before him. And that was enough to begin. The fisherman who had said, "Leave me," now rose to follow. Peter's fear told him to create distance. Jesus' grace invited him closer. Peter's shame said he was unworthy. Jesus did not deny his need, but he gave that needy man a future. Peter's past said he was a fisherman. Jesus gave that familiar life a new direction. Peter's success said the full boats were valuable. Jesus showed him a greater treasure. And Peter followed. May we today refuse to let past failure define us, refuse to let present success possess us. Hear the words, "Do not be afraid," and place our lives again under the direction of Jesus, trusting that the one who calls imperfect people is also able to teach, shape, and lead them as they follow.